Chapter 111. Nobody would believe that. Wilderness. Several figures could be seen beside a certain small hill. Everyone, are we doing it this year as well? After a short silence, someone gloomily said, "The divine Skywing sect has been destroyed. Great Zia is a dangerous place. I heard that for this year, even a small city like Nanyuan has a Skysoar expert escorting their convoy. What do you think, everyone? Our Tao Master intends to skip this year." The person who had spoken was a woman. With a smile, she said, "Great Zia is like a cat with its tail stepped on. Even the martial dragon guards have been recalled from the battlefield. We don't even know where their main force is hidden right now. It's not worth risking ourselves just to kill some hatchlings." In the cult's hierarchy, a Tao Master was the equivalent of a prefect. Each Tao Master was in charge of the cult's operations in an entire prefecture. The cult leader of each city was called Hall Masters. Generally, these Hall Masters were Skysoar experts. As for the Tao Masters, their strength differed. They varied between the Mountain Sea and the Cloudbreach realms. The sect the woman belonged to had clearly given up on this year's hunt. The first person who had spoken, replied gloomily, "Your divine Cloudrat sect has always been so cowardly. Zia Longwu is in seclusion. That greedy Marquis Zia is the one in charge now. Do you think he will send the martial dragon guards out to ambush us? In fact, this year is our perfect opportunity with Zia Longwu's absence. If we can kill the geniuses from the 28 cities, that's the same as killing at least 10 future Skysoar experts that would otherwise emerge in the coming 20 years. She smiled and said, "Only by being careful will you be able to live a long life." The divine Skywing sect was powerful and courageous. They have been spending many years developing in the other prefectures. But the moment they come to Great Zia, their heads fall like wheat and their entire sect is destroyed. Even their sect master was killed together with a large number of divines. Us of the divine Cloudrat sect aren't as strong as them, but we are also far less arrogant. We won't be participating in this year's hunt. If your Bloodfire sect wants to make a move, go ahead. We're not stopping you." The Bloodfire sect was the same sect that had worked with the divine Skywing sect during the attack on Nanyuan not long ago. The woman knew that this sect was filled with lunatics. Due to their inheritance from the Bloodfire devil race, they were all crazy. During the event that caused the divine Skywing sect's destruction, the Bloodfire sect had suffered disastrous losses as well. But instead of being scared, they doubled down and sent even more people into Great Zia. They wanted to get their revenge during Zia Longwu's seclusion. The woman was not interested in going crazy and seeking death with them. Sure, Zia Longwu was in seclusion, but Great Zia as a whole was still as powerful as ever. They only needed to keep growing silently. Why did they need to provoke the prefecture? That would only harm themselves. The person from the Bloodfire sect was unhappy, but he couldn't be bothered to argue with the woman. The divine Cloudrat sect was not a powerful sect anyway, so he didn't really care about their participation. Someone else said, "It will be impossible for us to eliminate the geniuses of all 28 cities. But the cult forces have suffered a lot of losses in Great Zia over the years. All the other branches are questioning our ability, and the number of new recruits in Great Zia has been dropping sharply. The destruction of the divine Skywing sect has embarrassed the Myriad race cult. If we can't get some revenge, the cult will start declining from this loss of reputation." The gloomy man sighed. "Our Bloodfire sect isn't doing all this just for revenge. I know that Great Zia is laying out a trap for us. They definitely thought that Nanyuan would be our target. After all, a genius has appeared there this year. A genius with high-tier War Academy evaluation and high cultural research academy evaluation. He also has a completed divine character. News of that person has spread everywhere. There's nothing weird about the news, but a genius like that should have been secretly escorted to the capital. But that isn't happening," the man sneered. "That's a bait waiting for us to bite," someone else asked. "In that case, why are you still preparing to conduct the hunt, Hallmaster Shui?" "Why not?" the man said. "Since they have tossed out the bait, why shouldn't we bite? Why shouldn't we bite? We of the Bloodfire sect love nothing more than slaughter. A world without slaughter would be too boring. We will send some people to attack the Nanyuan convoy, but they won't be our main goal. Do they think that they're the only ones who know how to misdirect? Our true goal will be the second biggest city in Great Zia, Beifeng City." The man smiled sinisterly. A small group of cult members will attack the Nanyuan convoy, baiting the ambush waiting for us. Meanwhile, we will be attacking the Beifeng convoy. They won't expect that we would have the courage to attack Beifeng. After all, Beifeng is less than 500 kilometers away from the capital. Their convoy is escorted by at least 5 Skysoar experts. They even have 1 or 2 Cloudbreach experts following them in secret. In the past years, we had always avoided Beifeng. They look down on us. They disregard us. After so many years, they are starting to relax their security measures. In contrast, cities like Nanyuan and Tianshui are instead extremely alert since they are weaker and have been victims to our attacks in the past. They will be very hard to ambush. If we launch a surprise attack at Beifeng, we can definitely achieve a great result. They have a lot of geniuses. In fact, their number of geniuses is second only to the capital itself. They have around 10 high-tier students and more than 100 middle-tier students. Killing a high-tier student will grant us at least 30 contribution points. That is basically the same as killing a 7th stage infinite strength cultivator. Basically the same as stage infinite strength cultivator. Killing a middle-tier student will also give us 5 contribution points. Killing 2 of them will be the same as killing an early stage infinite strength cultivator. If we can defeat their convoy, we can earn no less than 1,000 contribution points. If we can kill some of their Dao protectors as well, we can earn more than 2,000 contribution points. Don't forget that Beifeng is rich. Those geniuses will carry their willpower texts, original texts, cultivation weapons, source chi liquid, and so on. If we succeed, we stand to earn more than 5,000 contribution points. At that declaration, the breathing of the people around him quickened. The value of Myriad race cult's contribution points were similar to the merit points of the official human government. In short, they stood to earn 5,000 merit points from this mission. They would need to kill 50 early-stage Skysoar experts to earn that much. Even killing a Cloudbreach expert would only grant them around 500 contribution points. They would need to kill a Mountain Sea expert to earn 5,000 contribution points. But were Mountain Sea experts easy to kill? But now they only needed to attack a single student convoy. No matter how strong their escorts were, they would be nowhere as strong as Mountain Sea experts. Someone said in excitement, "Beifeng is very strong. We need at least 3 Cloudbreach experts and 5 or 6 Skysoar experts if we want to defeat them quickly. But the gains would be too little for so many experts. Foolish." The man from the Bloodfire sect sneered. "If we can kill the geniuses of Beifeng, will the higher-ups skim on our rewards? The 5,000 contribution points will be our minimum earning. If we succeed, the rewards from the higher-ups will be at least double that amount. We stand to get 10,000 contribution points. Our subordinates will be happy with about 1,000 contribution points. We can split the rest among ourselves. Each of us can gain no less than 1,000 points. How long will you need to work for that many points?" The breathing around him became even quicker. For them, that was a lot of points. At times, a single mission would only earn them double digits or even single-digit points. And to earn triple digits in points, they would need to risk their lives. An early-stage Skysoar expert was only worth 100 points. For 1,000 points, they needed to risk their lives 10 times. But now, they only needed to risk their lives once. The man asked again, "So are we doing it or not? If we succeed, even the divine Skywing race might have some rewards for us. We have taken revenge for them. For the sake of rebuilding their sect, they won't be stingy in their rewards. If any of us is interested, we can even take the leading role in the rebuilding efforts and lead the newly built sect." "Shui, is that your plan?" Shui did not mind speaking his mind. Who doesn't want to rise up the ranks? What's the difference between fighting for the Bloodfire Devil race and the Divine Skywing race? People like us will never become a part of human society. In that case, we will let money determine who we fight for. If we can lead the rebuilding efforts of the Divine Skywing sect, I will definitely gain a lot of support. With the support, I can probably reach the Mountain Sea realm quickly. Shui did not hide his ambitions. With anticipation in his eyes, he said, "Everyone, during the rebuilding, the Divine Skywing race will be raining down resources on us. Be aware that founders of a sect will gain a lot more than late joiners." "Shui, are you not afraid that the Bloodfire sect will punish you for that?" Shui sneered. "What am I afraid of? I have nothing. If I succeed, I will be the leader of a sect. At that time, not even the Bloodfire sect would dare to touch me. If I fail, I'm still a Cloudbreach expert. The Bloodfire sect still needs people like me. Since I haven't really betrayed them, are they really going to put the effort into killing me? This isn't the devil realm of the Bloodfire devil race. This is the human realm. Is it worth the effort to kill me? They might as well keep me around to work for them. Isn't that right? With an impatient tone, Shui said. Everyone, think for yourself. Regardless of whether you're joining the hunt or not, you will have to stay here for a few days. If you have any affairs, you can get my subordinates to handle them for you. Nobody objected, as that had always been the rule to prevent information leak. Shui, we can attack Beifeng, but the group attacking the Nanyuan convoy needs to be strong enough. Otherwise, it will be too obvious that those are abandoned chess pieces. That will also put us in danger. Will you be able to do that? Of course. Shui flashed a sinister smile. The Hall Master of Tian Shui does not get along well with me. How about letting him, a 6th stage Skysoar cultivator, lead the attack? There is only an early stage Skysoar cultivator from the Martial Dragon Guards in the Nanyuan convoy. He will practically be getting those contribution points for free. Will he reject the offer? If you have anyone you don't like, feel free to send them to the various convoys as well. Attacking the Nanyuan convoy alone won't be enough. If we attack more convoys, we will eventually reveal their hidden force. That will only make things safer for us. Nobody said anything. It was inevitable that all of them would have a rival somewhere. It was hard to do anything to these rivals normally, but it would be a good idea to use this opportunity to get rid of their rivals. Attacking the Beifeng convoy can earn each of us at least 1,000 points, and we can even become the founders of the new Divine Skywing sect. They were getting excited. Shui was not lying. The Divine Skywing race urgently needed new underlings in the human realm. Their sect had been destroyed previously, and they couldn't even build the foundation for a new sect now. If these people jumped ship to the Divine Skywings, they would receive a lot of support. Beifeng had enjoyed many years of peace. This time, news about the genius from Nanyuan had been spreading everywhere. That might really be a bait. Attacking the Nanyuan convoy could very well be even more dangerous than attacking the Beifeng convoy. Normally, they wouldn't dare to lay their hands on Beifeng, but nobody said that things were the same as normal this time. The gathered leaders of the various sects were getting very tempted. Meanwhile, Shui was laughing sinisterly. He knew that these people would agree to join him. The benefits were large enough to tempt them. Their greed would be triggered. If they weren't greedy, they wouldn't have joined the Myriad race cult in the first place. Nanyuan Bai Shui sneered as he looked southward. Eating a single genius was not as good as eating multiple geniuses. Great Zia was looking down on his appetite. High-pleated divine character, he sneered. That was definitely a lie. How could a high student emerge from a shitty place like Nanyuan? That was definitely a lie. Who would believe that? A high student would grant 100 contribution points per kill. That was the same as killing a Skysoar expert. A lower-tier student would probably fail to attract experts like them. Perhaps that was why Great Zia had claimed that there was a high-tier student there. You people are looking down on me too much. Shui was feeling very proud of himself. If the rumors said that such a genius had appeared in Tian Shui, he would have believed it. But they just had to use Nanyuan instead. Was Great Zia treating all cult members as fools? Then again, it was quite a pity that there were indeed people in the cult that had believed the rumor. Shui merely sneered contemptuously at those fools. He was feeling very smug about his superior intelligence. Who would even believe that a high student could come out of Nanyuan? It would seem like the cult still had a long way to go. To grow further, they would need to get rid of these fools from the cult. Chapter 112. Ambush. Counter 1 in the wilderness, on a winding road. The convoy was slowly moving forward. The roads of Great Zia were actually built well, but the roads in the wilderness would encounter a lot of issues, such as random damages here and there. Some were caused by humans, and some were caused by demon beasts. On the trucks, the students were tired of the bumpy ride. Their exhaustion wasn't the biggest issue. It had been 3 hours. The biggest issue was that many of them needed to use the toilet. On each of the trucks, students could be heard demanding a stop. They needed to free their bladder. at the rear of the convoy. Zia Bing frowned. It was very dangerous to stop in the middle of the wilderness. If they continued moving, even in the event of an ambush, they could quickly drive away. But the moment they stopped, an ambush would put them in much bigger trouble. But there were hundreds of students in the convoy. It was unrealistic to tell them to hold their bladder for 5 hours. Stop. We'll take a 10-minute break. Zia Bing finally decided to order a rest stop. They picked a spot with flat terrain to stop. That way, they could avoid any ambushes. Suyu got off the truck as well. He had been in the wobbling truck for several hours. He was able to handle it fine, but some of the students were starting to throw up from car sickness. After seeing so many students throw up, even Suyu himself felt like throwing up. Meanwhile, Chen Hao looked around gloomily and said, "How am I supposed to piss? There are people everywhere." They had stopped on a flat terrain. The city guards had formed an encirclement around them, not allowing any student to wander off. In this situation, it was very inconvenient for the students to empty their bladder. It was still not that bad for the males, but the females were turning pale in desperation. Luckily, Zia Bing ordered, "The males will stick to the left of the vehicles, while the females will stick to the right of the vehicles. Deal with your bladder there. If you're unwilling, feel free to piss your pants. Everywhere outside a city is a battlefield. If you can't overcome a little hardship like this, you should just go back home." Some were still unhappy, but they were left with no choice. They could only split up on both sides of the convoy and relied on the vehicles to give them some privacy. Suyu's bladder was not full yet, so he did not follow Chen Hao away. Instead, he looked around and looked at the desolate wilderness around them. While studying his surroundings, Zia Bing stopped nearby and beckoned at him. Suyu hurriedly walked over. When he was near, Zia Bing said, "Don't get into truck 1 anymore. Get into the truck behind instead also. Put on a city guard uniform." Suyu's eyes flickered in thought as he nodded. He did not tell Chen Hao anything much apart from the fact that he was going to change trucks. He then went to the city guard's truck behind truck 1. In the truck, he changed into a city guard outfit and sat among the city guards. Zia Bing exhaled lightly and said, "This is for your safety. This will also be better for the others. Things will be much more dangerous for your companions in truck 1 if you're there with them." "I understand." Suyu nodded. He softly asked, "Sir Zia, we should be reaching Tianshui City soon, right? I checked the map before. There aren't any suitable ambush locations nearby. The cult won't show up anymore, right? You never know." Zia Bing shook his head. Suyu asked, "Every year at this time, these student convoys would be attacked. Is the government not doing anything about it?" Zia Bing smiled and shook his head without saying anything. They naturally wouldn't take a beating without hitting back. In fact, they would set some bait each year to lure the cult members out, but that was a military secret. Nobody knew for sure which convoy was the bait and which wasn't. At the same time, a few kilometers away from the convoy, a group of people were hiding in a depression on the ground. They were all looking at the stopped convoy. A middle-aged man in the group asked the old man beside him, "Hallmaster, the Nanyuan convoy has stopped. Do we attack now?" "No." The Tianshui Hallmaster objected. This place was too open. Their targets could choose to flee or cause heavy casualties to them before they could even reach the convoy. After all, the city guards were equipped with bows and arrows. Attacking from so far away would basically make them live targets. "Hallmaster, we won't have a better opportunity moving forward," the old man indifferently said. "If we can't find an opportunity, we will simply not attack. It's not like this is a profitable job. If we have the chance, we'll go take a bite. If not, we give up. It would be hard to explain ourselves to Sir Shui. He's a hallmaster. I'm a hallmaster too. Why do I need to explain myself to him? I only need to assist with his mission. We didn't promise to throw our lives away." The old man was unbothered. Shui was also a hallmaster like him. He was only cooperating because Shui was a Cloudbreach expert. He never got along well with Shui. Thus, although he was cooperating, he definitely wouldn't risk his life for it. After a short observation, the old man was able to get a good measure of the strength of this convoy. They only had 1 Skysoar expert and a few infinite strength cultivators. The rest of them were ordinary great strength city guards. "Let's go. We'll wait at the Yuanshui village ahead of them." "Yuanshui village?" the middle-aged man said in shock. "Hallmaster, that's already within Tianshui city's borders. That village is less than 30 kilometers away from the city itself. That's the only place we can make a move, the old man coldly said. As Tianshui City is near, the convoy will relax when they reach the village. There are also many roadside houses in the village. That will make it easier for us to hide. We only need to be fast enough and withdraw before the reinforcements from Tianshui arrive. Attacking there will be safer than attacking here. Cut the crap. Go get ready. We need to finish our preparations before they're there. They then retreated and started moving toward Tianshui City through a different path. These people were all powerful cultivators, so they were able to run rapidly through the wilderness while keeping their back bent to keep themselves hidden. The instant the cult members retreated, Zia looked in their direction with a frown. He had a feeling that someone or something was looking at him a moment ago. Was it a human or a demon beast? Or maybe it was a regular wild animal? And get into the trucks. We'll resume our journey. Tianshui is 2 hours away. With Zia Bing's command, the convoy resumed their journey. In the truck, Su Yu had his saber in his hands while paying close attention to his surroundings. After a while, Su Yu exhaled in relief when he saw that there were no attacks. Although he had never encountered any wilderness attacks before, he wouldn't dare to relax since even Zia Bing was so nervous. The trucks continued advancing. The ride was bumpy and the journey was slow. Beside Su Yu, a squad leader of the city guards smiled and said, "Don't be so tense. It's not good to be too nervous either. Don't worry, student Su Yu. After reaching Tianshui, our remaining journey will be much safer." Su Yu nodded and said, "Big Brother Ma, do the city guards normally go out to suppress the demon beasts and cult members in the wilderness? At times?" The squad leader said, "Only a small number of cult members would actually hide in the cities. Most of them are outside the cities. The wilderness is basically their home ground. We would frequently send our scouts out to look for them. The moment a stronghold is found, we will set out and exterminate them." Su Yu nodded in understanding. He asked, "Big Brother Ma, I'm very curious. The cult has lost a lot of their members in Great Zia. Why are there still so many people joining them?" "There are many reasons." The squad leader was a veteran soldier. He sighed and said, "The Myriad race cult is composed of many types of people. Firstly, the deserters." Su Yu's pupils shrank. He had never considered that possibility. Because of the constant battles on the Al-Haven battlefield, casualties are high. Not everyone there is fearless. Some lose their courage and become deserters. And if they're lucky to leave the Al-Haven battlefield alive, they can no longer remain with the army as desertion is punishable by death. They can only join the Myriad race cult. Secondly, escaped convicts. Some cultivators prefer to kill and rob others of their wealth instead of making a living on the battlefield. When they are discovered by the authorities, they become wanted criminals. There are some who have simply turned to a life of crime for easy money. As criminals, the lawless nature of the Myriad race cult proves much more attractive to them than the regular armies. Thirdly, the believers. This subset of the cult is actually the hardest to deal with. They truly believe in the divines and devils. They believe that the divines and devils are omnipotent and can live for eternity. They wish to one day enter the divine realm or the devil realm. For them, each word spoken by the divines or the devils is akin to the word of a god. And fourthly, the swindlers. Su Yu blanked out. "Swindlers," the squad leader softly said, "that's what they are. Some people will gather a group of people and claim to be the believers of a certain race. Then, they will swindle a large amount of resources from that race." The squad leader had an amused expression as he continued. "They discovered that it is very easy to swindle some of the minor races. Thus, these people started joining the Myriad race cult as well. There are actually quite a lot of them around. Many of the minor sects were founded by these people. They only need to gather dozens of people and try to get a connection to a random race before swindling a large amount of resources from that race. This is much easier than working honestly for what they want. Are there actually such stupid races out there?" Su Yu could not believe it. But then again, anything was possible. The squad leader smiled. The foreign races are not in the human realm, so what do they know? If these people are willing to spread their faith in the human realm and provide them with some information, that will be enough for the foreign races. In fact, a lot of the minor races are aware that they are being swindled, but they still need the information provided by these swindlers. Although those people are swindlers, they are still humans living in the human realm. The random information they provide could still prove to be useful for the other races. The squad leader sighed and said, "You might think that these swindlers are not as hateful as the others. But in truth, they deserve death too. Some information that they regard as unimportant could be very important for the foreign races at times. For example, a few years ago, a cult member informed the foreign race about a relative of his that was serving in a certain human army. He told the foreign race that his relative was back home to visit his friends and families. But through that information, the foreign race discovered that the entire army was in the middle of reorganization, with many of their soldiers absent. The foreign race took the opportunity to launch a surprise attack on the army, resulting in disastrous losses. They were getting closer and closer to Tianshui. At this time, the city guards were getting even more nervous. As veterans, they understood that this was the most likely moment for danger to appear. Zia Bing had already flown into the sky several times to scan the area. Beside him, someone reported, "We are dozens of kilometers away from Tianshui. Ahead of us is the Yuanshui village. After passing through the village, we will reach Tianshui in 30 minutes. They were already inside the borders of Tianshui. Tianshui was a much larger city than Nanyuan. They had more than 5,000 city guards with a large number of Skysoar experts in their ranks. In fact, they even had Cloudbreach experts in the city. When they reached Tianshui, the cult would no longer dare to attack them. They could already start seeing some houses beside the road. Some of the locals were even gawking at the convoy. Children could be seen running around by the road. The convoy slowed down. Since this was a residential area, accidents might happen if they moved too fast. It was at this moment that many of the city guards relaxed. Finally, they were back at civilization. Generally, this meant that they were already safe. The journey had been smooth as they had not encountered any attack. More and more buildings could be seen on the two sides of the road. Right ahead of the convoy was a relatively small roadside house. Inside the house, the hallmaster of Tianshui took a deep breath and said, "They have a Skysoar cultivator. I will keep him busy. Remember, your targets are not the city guards. Aim for the students. Don't kill them all. Leave some alive to slow the city guards down. Seriously injure some of them, and lightly injure some of them before withdrawing. That way, the city guards and martial dragon guards will not be able to focus on chasing after us. If they killed all the students, this would turn into a battle until the bitter end. But if they keep some injured students around, the city guards and martial dragon guards would be forced to look after the students. The city guards would most likely stay behind to keep watch over the students, while the martial dragon guards would not have enough people to pursue them. This wasn't the hallmaster's first rodeo. In the past, some brainless cult members had actually killed all the students during one of these hunts. As a result, the city guards and martial dragon guards went crazy and chased after the cult members relentlessly. Ultimately, both sides ended up with disastrous losses. It's enough to kill some of them. This won't be too dangerous yet. It will earn us a decent amount of points. After the mission, leave Tianshui's borders immediately. Do you understand? Roger, the other ringleaders answered. The hallmaster exhaled and sent his willpower out to cover the house, preventing the enemy Skysoar cultivator from discovering them. Although warriors didn't specialize on willpower, at the Skysoar realm, their willpower would start growing. Sure, their willpower wouldn't be as strong as proper cultural researchers, but it would be good enough for concealment. Shua, the hallmaster muttered to himself. That fellow never got along well with him. That fellow had ordered an attack against Nanyuan, yet he himself was nowhere to be seen. Is he trying to use me as bait? The hallmaster was feeling uneasy, but Shuye was a Cloudbreach cultivator. He couldn't disregard the order. He had spent a long time observing the convoy. He did not discover any signs of ambush. We'll strike once before withdrawing immediately, the hallmaster decided. He couldn't disobey Shui's orders, but his mission would be considered accomplished as long as an attack was launched. He would then flee quickly. As a 6th-stage Skysoar cultivator, he could easily escape so long as he didn't try to actually kill the Skysoar cultivator from the martial dragon guards. Shui, are you trying to make me serve as the bait while you profit somewhere else? The hallmaster started guessing, but he soon stopped thinking as the Nanyuan convoy was drawing near. They were slowly driving out of Yuanshui village. Beside Suyu, squad leader Ma exhaled in relief and said, "We will reach Tianshui in half an hour. This is quite a smooth trip." There were only a few buildings ahead of them. A vague outline of a massive city could be seen in the distance. They were around 30 kilometers away, so they still couldn't get a clear look at the city. Right that moment, a pop sounded from a truck ahead of them. Next, someone shouted, "The tire burst." First, everyone turned tense. But upon hearing that, everyone relaxed again. Suyu could hear someone asking, "Can the truck keep going?" "We can change the tire at Tianshui." However, the convoy still stopped. With the first truck stopping, the other trucks couldn't keep going. "We can't. We'll have to change the tire here. It won't take long." Zia Bing was scanning his surroundings. Beside him, a martial dragon guard soldier was doing the same. There were still some houses around them. The ruckus had attracted some gazes from the locals who were gathering around them to gawk. Squad leader, the soldier beside Zia Bing, said, "Something isn't right." "Huh?" Zia Bing was instantly on alert. What's wrong? He did not notice anything. Since they were near their destination, he had relaxed considerably. "There are too many men on. There are no children around." The soldier's face changed. There were men and women around them. These people were all dressed in civilian outfits. But this place felt somewhat different. This place should be large enough to house around a dozen families, but not a single child could be seen or heard. Further ahead of them, children could still be seen running around. Meanwhile, not even a domestic animal could be seen in their vicinity. There were men and women in the Myriad race cult, but there definitely wouldn't be any children during their missions. Zia Bing instantly came to a realization. He was furious at himself for not noticing the same. He hurriedly shouted, "Enemy attack! Get ready!" Immediately after, the gawking villagers started charging at them. Rumble! One of the trucks was instantly slashed open by one of the villagers, causing a series of surprised shouts to ring out. Zia Bing was about to move over to help when a figure charged straight toward him. A loud boom sounded as a saber and a sword clashed. The truck Zia Bing was on burst apart from the impact. The other martial dragon gods were also kept busy by the other cult members. Zia Bing was forced to take a few steps backward before he charged the figure in the air with a roar. They had been ambushed! Only then did everyone in the convoy come to this realization. They couldn't believe that the enemies were actually attacking so near Tianshui City. At the same time, Suyu's truck was under attack as well. An infinite strength cult member was leading several great strength cult members in the attack. The city guards roared and jumped off the truck to face the attackers. "Protect the trucks. Students, don't wander off. Some of you go protect truck 3. Team 7, protect truck 7. The commander of the city guards shouted a series of commands. There weren't a lot of attackers, but some of the students were running around in panic. If they left the city guards' protection, they would be killed with a single strike. Suyu did not take part in the fight. When he saw that the city guards near him had things under control, he jumped off the truck and rushed toward truck 1. Chen Hao was still there. Clad in a city guard uniform, he wasn't the priority target of the cult members. Along the way, a great strength cult member noticed him and was about to attack before his vision turned dark. That was a new illusion Suyu had created recently. Darkness. Before the cult member could react, Suyu swung his saber and split the cult member into 2. He had already consumed a drop of blood essence. This was not the time to hesitate. With his divine character, the offensive strength of a 7th stage great strength cultivator, and a profound grade martial technique like the lightning source blade, he was able to easily kill the great strength cult member. He did not stick around and continued running toward truck 1. The attacking cult members weren't too strong. Their infinite strength cultivators were all facing the city guards and martial dragon guards, while their great strength cultivators were in charge of hunting the students. Before long, Suyu reached truck 1. Chen Hao and the others had their weapons out. Some looked alarmed, while some looked fearful. However, all of them were staying silent. No matter what, these were elite students that were far calmer than the regular students. Outside the truck, the city guards were able to hold the line against the cult members, so the students did not panic. Before reaching the truck, Suyu heard Chen Hao shouting, "What are you afraid of? If they come, we'll kill them." "It's not like I've never killed any of these cult animals before." Suyu heaved a breath of relief when he saw that they were safe. He did not take his city guard uniform off, as it wouldn't be too surprising for a city guard to kill a few cult members. But if he did it as a student, he would immediately attract the attention of all the cult members. In that situation, even a fool would know that he was a genius. Suyu believed that it would be safer for him to keep pretending to be a city guard. When he saw that Chen Hao and the others were fine, he stopped approaching the truck and rushed toward the battling cultivators. Ahead of them, a few city guards were facing a few cult members. He silently recreated his illusion. The vision of the cult members turned dark. That split second of interruption was enough for the city guards to kill a few of them. The remaining cult members were instantly placed in a disadvantageous position. They wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Beads of sweat formed on Suyu's forehead from the exertion. Forming those illusions had drained a lot of his willpower. He was standing near truck 3. The students in the truck were shouting as some cult members had approached them. When he looked over, he saw that there were only 2 city guards protecting the truck while 5 cult members had approached. He wasted no time and rushed over. One of the cult members turned around to face him. The same scene repeated as the cult member's vision turned dark. While swinging his saber around in panic, his head was cut off by Suyu. "Kill him!" 2 alarmed cult members turned around and charged him. Suyu took a deep breath and consumed another drop of blood essence. A layer of electricity appeared around his saber as he imbued the power of his lightning character into the blade. Rumbling thunder. This was Suyu's first time using the second move of the lightning source blade. His blade instantly sped up. Thunder boomed as he swung his blade. The visions of the 2 cult members darkened. When they heard the booming thunder, they hurriedly stepped back in panic. One was able to move out of the way, while the other was split apart by Suyu's blade. The exhaustion caused Suyu to stagger. He barely avoided falling onto the ground. When he saw that the other cult member had tumbled onto the ground, he took the chance to stab out, nailing the cult member on the ground. In the blink of an eye, 3 cult members had been killed. Everything had happened too fast. When the 2 city guards saw how ferocious their comrade was, their morale rose as they roared and charged the 2 remaining cult members, forcing the 2 to retreat. Chapter 114. Ambush. Counter 3 before anyone knew it. The surroundings of the convoy had turned into a field of slaughter. The battle between Skysoar cultivators was ongoing in the sky. Zia looked incomparably sorry with numerous wounds on his body, his blood raining down from the sky. Everyone else was too busy to pay any attention to the fight between the Skysoar cultivators. After a short rest, Suyu continued creating illusions. This time, he hid somewhere and played a support role instead of fighting personally. Sure, it felt good to kill the enemies with his own hands, but the source chi exhaustion was too great for him. He was better off supporting his allies in the battle. That way, he would be able to maximize his value. The enemies did not have a lot of people in the first place. With Suyu's interruptions, it did not take long for over 20 cult members to fall. In the sky, the Hallmaster could feel that something was off. The gap between the 2 parties shouldn't be this big. Why did so many of them die suddenly? The cult members were only supposed to keep them busy instead of fighting to the death. Why was so many of them dead? This isn't right. When he saw another cult member being cut down by a city guard, he finally noticed the issue. He exclaimed, "There's a cultural researcher around." A cultural researcher had appeared. That was clearly a willpower interruption, or some other trick of a cultural researcher. In any case, it wasn't the trick of a regular warrior. The cult member had clearly panicked for no reason right before he was cut down. That wasn't normal at all. And the appearance of a cultural researcher meant that there was another Skysoar cultivator around. Even his life was under threat now. Retreat with a roar. The cult members started fleeing in all directions. Right that moment, a golden streak of light shot over and stabbed through the Hallmaster's head. Then, more golden streaks of light arrived. Instantly, dozens of cult members were killed. An old man appeared out of nowhere and landed on the ground. When he looked around, he frowned and said, "My apologies. I was away to scout our surroundings as I thought they would attack in the wilderness. I was mistaken." Evidently, this was the expert in charge of protecting the Nanyuan convoy in secret. He had left a scout around, clearly neglecting the possibility that an attack might happen in Yuanshui village. Zia landed from the sky with his body dyed red in blood. He looked at the old man and demanded, "You're alone?" If he was alone, then it wasn't surprising that the cult members had been able to get through him. The old man nodded. Yeah, there were two of us, but the other person heard that something happened in Tianshui, so he went ahead of us. His actions have negatively affected the battle. After giving that remark, Zia Bing ignored the old man. He did not seem to care that the old man had instantly killed a 6th-stage Skysoar cultivator. After looking around, he exhaled in relief. Fortunately, the losses hadn't been too great. About 7 or 8 had perished on their side. There were some unlucky students who had been killed when running around in panic. Some had only suffered light injuries. Some of the city guards had died as well. Zia Bing did not feel sad for the students who had been killed while running around like headless chicken. They had been told to stick together, but they disobeyed and even affected the formation of the city guards. Nobody would pity them if they ended up killed. When Zia Bing's gaze landed on Su Yu, an odd expression appeared on his face. Others might not recognize Su Yu in his new getup, but that was not the case for Zia Bing. When the hallmaster shouted that a cultural researcher had appeared earlier, he wasn't referring to the old man. Rather, he was talking about Su Yu. This kid's willpower was still very weak, yet he had been able to play such a big role in the battle. How did he accomplish that? Zia Bing was aware that Su Yu had helped the Windcatcher department with an infinite strength cultivator before, but that was an entirely different situation. Previously, the infinite strength cultivator had been surrounded by them. That was not the case this time. The old man was looking at Su Yu as well. He hadn't been around to see what Su Yu had done, but he could see that Su Yu had exhausted his willpower. He could even feel the aura of a divine character around Su Yu. "City guard?" The old man muttered doubtfully. There was someone with a divine character among the guards. No, he soon recognized the person. That was Su Yu, the high genius from Nanyuan. He's actually able to use his divine character in combat. The old man scanned the dead cult members, as the look in his eyes turned odd. This kid had used his divine character at least 7 or 8 times. That was not supposed to be possible. Su Yu was sitting on the ground while panting for breath. With the city guard helmet covering his face, most people couldn't recognize him. When he sensed a gaze on him, he looked up and saw that it was the newly arrived old man. He hurriedly stood up and bowed slightly to show his respect. That was an expert, a true expert. An enemy that had forced Zia Bing to stay on the defensive and deal him numerous injuries had been killed by this old man with one hit from afar. This person was at least at the Cloudbreach realm. Of course, there was also a possibility that he was at the peak of the Skysoar realm. In any case, Su Yu wouldn't be able to differentiate between the two. He had never seen an expert of this level fight before. The old man had also released golden streaks from afar to instantly kill dozens of cult members. This was probably not something a warrior of the same cultivation level could do. It was very likely that this old man was a cultural researcher. When the old man saw Su Yu looking at him, he smiled and nodded in greeting. He then moved his gaze toward the other students. Some of them were crying bitterly. After scanning the crowd, the old man spoke with a voice that was soft yet could be heard clearly by everyone present. "This is something you will experience one day. It might be a tad bit too early, but as soon-to-be academy students, this is not an experience you can skip. In fact, you will come to experience scenes that are even crueler than this. Schoolmates, teachers, comrades, friends, lovers, any of them might die before your eyes one day." The old man slowly said, "The path of an expert is lonely and sorrowful. If you can't withstand that, give up now. From now on, death will constantly accompany you. Death will be present on the Al-Heaven battlefield. Death will be present on missions. Death will be present during cultivation. From weak to strong, death will accompany you every step of the way. This is merely an appetizer. It is pointless to cry. Being cowardly is useless. If you want to give up, you can do it now. If not, get yourself together." Meanwhile, Zia Bing was busy cleaning the battlefield. He was still bleeding badly. When the old man was done talking, Zia Bing looked up and coldly said, "The moment you stepped out of Nanyuan, you are all soldiers. Do not say that you weren't given time to prepare or adapt. The 5 years you spent in secondary school was meant for getting you ready. The capital is the place where you will get practical experience and lessons. Did your secondary school not teach you to follow military commands? You were told to stay where you were. Why did you disobey? If you're so scared, Don't bother leaving Nanyuan. Keep staying there. Why walk the path of cultivation? Do you think you're going to the capital to enjoy life? Or do you think you're there to pick up money from the ground and receive free resources? Those who couldn't get used to this life will be eliminated from the competition. A weakling is not worth nurturing. There are countless warriors risking their lives on the front line for meager resources compared to what you're given. Yes, you guys have talent. But what's the big deal about having some talent? If you only have some talent but not the right mindset, no fortitude and no courage, you still can't become a true expert. Rather than waste our resources on you, we might as well send the resources to the front line. The soldiers there need them more than you. You're safe behind the front line yet are rewarded double what those at the front line could get for the same job. Why? Because of your talent. Because of your talent. Because of the hope that you can grow into experts. But if you stop showcasing that hope, my apologies. Nobody will keep useless people around. Zia Bing was very frank. He even pointed at the corpses of the dead city guards and furiously said, "If it wasn't for some of you who had failed to obey your orders and messed with the military formation with all that running around, these comrades wouldn't have died here. Because of you, they're dead. They are fellow humans. They are young, too. Why must they throw their lives away for you? Because they're soldiers. They know the meaning of responsibility. Do you know the same?" Some of the students started crying. Those who had been running around in panic earlier cried bitterly. They had survived, but that was because someone else had died for them. The city guards and martial dragon guards were cleaning the battlefield silently. The atmosphere was cold. This was the first lesson for these academy students, a true practical lesson. Today, there were city guards and martial dragon guards around to protect them. But that wouldn't always be the case. Students who couldn't withstand this pressure were better off not entering an academy. Amid the frosty atmosphere, suddenly, someone in the crowd wailed loudly. "You? Where are you?" "You?" His dead Chen Hao's voice rang out. He had been looking for Su Yu to no avail. When he saw the corpses on the ground, he panicked, thinking that Su Yu was dead. Zia Bing wanted to continue scolding the students when he heard Chen Hao's wail. His face twitched. What the fuck was that? Chapter 115. I'm rich and strong. One Su Yu hurriedly took off his city guard uniform and walked out from behind a truck. He softly scolded. "Shut up!" Chen Hao was relieved when he saw Su Yu. He rushed over and asked in astonishment, "You? Why are you so scared? Did you piss yourself?" Su Yu was wet, but he was wet with sweat, not piss. His face was also pale. When he heard Chen Hao's question, he felt like beating this fellow to death. Su Yu glared at Chen Hao and berated, "Shut up. If you don't know what to say, don't talk." Chen Hao felt somewhat awkward. He softly asked, "Did you kill someone previously?" He had helped Su Yu kill 2 great strength cultivators. He concluded that Su Yu was definitely not hiding in fear. He must have killed some cult members earlier. In his opinion, Su Yu was a very brave person. He looked at Su Yu's saber, and sure enough, there was some blood on the blade. He complained, "You should have called me earlier. I can help you lure some cult members over Scram." Su Yu couldn't even be bothered to entertain that remark. There were enemies everywhere. Did he still need bait? Chen Hao could have lured dozens of cult members to him instead. At that time it would be too late for regret. The old man suddenly said, "Clear the battlefield. The remains of the soldiers and students will be sent to Tianshui. They will send the remains back to Nanyuan. We need to head to Tianshui immediately and link up with the convoy there. Keep an eye out for more cult members." Zia Bing said, "Students, get into the trucks. Abandon the damaged trucks. The martial dragon guards and city guards will be traveling on foot." "Yes, sir." "Sir." The military order was given for the soldiers to empty their trucks for the students. Some students were embarrassed and refused the offer. When Zia Bing saw that, he berated, "Do not disobey orders on the battlefield. If you really want to help, make sure to kill more enemies in the future. That's better than wasting everyone's time being all hesitant here. You're a bunch of source-open cultivators. Can you even keep up with us on foot? You'll only slow us down. On the battlefield, don't bother trying to help the experts in their fights. Do your job properly. That is the biggest help you can give. If you're ordered to retreat, obey. Follow your orders. Do not let your feelings dictate how you act. Do not waste any time with drama on the battlefield. If your loved ones are dead, retreat immediately so that you can avenge them in the future, not staying like fools to be killed and become one of the casualties. You genius students are indeed quite talented, but each year many soldiers would die on the battlefield because of your recklessness. Ultimately, the soldiers will be forced to save you. Each year, more than 1,000 soldiers will die because of genius students like you. People like you should really be put through more suffering. Squad leader Zia, the old man coughed. This should be enough. If Zia Bing continued, these students would probably lose all their confidence. Zia Bing did not mind and started shooting orders to the soldiers instead. A short while later, the convoy resumed their journey. They did not search the area. The soldiers from Tianshui would be doing that. Their mission was to protect these students, not suppressing the cult. With the old man around, their remaining journey would be much safer. At the rear of the convoy, Zia Bing and the soldiers were traveling on foot. As the trucks weren't moving too fast, they were able to keep up. The old man was also traveling on foot. He suddenly asked, "Was that student Suyu?" "Yes, yes." "Is the battle report ready?" Zia Bing shot the old man a glance and said, "This is a report for the military. There is no need for me to share it with you." "Zia Bing, I'm only asking. I didn't intend for what happened earlier to happen either," said the old man helplessly. "Our mission is to find out if there are any large movements on the cult's part. The cult members who had attacked earlier did not have a lot of people. They weren't too strong either. They have even created some confusion to obscure their presences." Zia Bing cut him off. "I don't have the right to criticize your performance. I bear some responsibility for the attack as well. But since there are supposed to be 2 of you, why is the other person not here? Tianshui has their own forces, so there is no need for either of you to leave. You have failed in your duty. I'll be sure to report this. The other person will bear the responsibility. If it turns out that he has a relationship with someone in Tianshui and has left his position in an active mission for his relative, I want to see just how the academy is going to answer for this." The old man was getting a headache. He felt very helpless, because Zia Bing was actually right. That colleague of his was really related to someone in Tianshui. His grandnephew was in the Tianshui convoy. Thus, when he heard that the Tianshui convoy had encountered some problem, he rushed over immediately. This would be very troublesome to deal with. Of course, the old man only felt a little bit of pity toward his colleague. In truth, the matter would not affect him much, he said. He will definitely take the responsibility for this. There is no doubt about that. Can you tell me about Su Yu instead? The more attention on him, the more opportunity he will get. Am I right? Zia Bing sank into a short silence before saying, "I checked. About 20 enemies had been killed after showing signs of confusion. We are still unsure of the exact circumstances of those deaths. As for those he had personally killed, based on the corpses I checked, there should be 4 of them. One would receive merit points by killing enemies. No soldier would say no to more merit points, but they wouldn't steal someone else's claim either. And there were 4 kills that had yet to be claimed. When Zia Bing checked, he concluded that these were probably Su Yu's kills. Traces of lightning could still be seen on those corpses. They were most likely killed by the lightning source blade. Killing 4 and interrupting over 20 enemies," the old man muttered, "is only a 9th stage source opening cultivator. Even with divine characters, it is still very surprising that he could kill 4 of them. I checked his records before. He shouldn't be this strong." Zia Bing wanted to say something, but he hesitated. He had actually noticed something. Su Yu had unleashed an offensive strength that was beyond the source opening realm. He had killed the 4 cult members in a very straightforward manner. The kills had been very clean. That wasn't something a normal source opening cultivator could do. After a short hesitation, he decided to keep that to himself. That might be Su Yu's trump card. There was no need for him to expose someone's trump card for no reason. It was never a bad thing for someone to have more trump cards to defend themselves. After all, who could be sure that this old man wasn't an enemy either? He has the blood and lightning characters as his divine characters. So is illusion creation an attribute of the lightning character, or the blood character? Zia Bing frowned. How am I supposed to know that? I'm not a cultural researcher. 2 divine characters. The old man wasn't paying any attention to Zia Bing. He muttered to himself, Illusion creation at attribute is not too special, as a lot of divine characters have the same attribute, but if he can use it so many times before even reaching the mental tempering stage, that means his divine character has very low willpower requirements. This divine character will be very strong during the early stages. That was the conclusion the old man reached. As for how strong the divine character would be at the Skysoar realm and beyond, it was too early to talk about that. At the very least, he was sure that this divine character was very strong at Suyu's current level. This divine character was at least strong enough to render the great strength cultivators completely helpless. But this illusion might be less powerful against those in the infinite strength and Skysoar realms. Furthermore, this ability was only suitable for clueless opponents. It would be considerably less effective against opponents that were already aware of its existence. His willpower isn't strong, yet he has two divine characters. The old man sank into thought. Suddenly, he asked, "Is he Liu Wenyan's student?" Zia Bing nodded. "Then that's understandable." Back then, Liu Wenyan specialized in divine characters, and as a genius character master, Zia Bing said doubtfully. Instructor Liu still wasn't a cultural researcher back then. Character master was not a term to be used lightly, and Liu Wenyan had only reached the Skysoar realm recently. Someone like him shouldn't be a genius character master back then. The old man laughed and said, "You'd understand. That fellow Sai, he has a junior brother." "You should be aware of that, right?" "Yeah. Master Hong Tan. Since you know that Master Hong Tan is his junior brother, aren't you curious why he sank so low?" Zia Bing said. "I'm not interested. Knowing too much won't benefit me." "You people," the old man burst out laughing. "You people," the old man burst out laughing. "The people from the martial dragon guards are all blockheads. Liu Wenyan has indeed delayed his willpower materialization, but he was already at the mental tempering stage many years ago. He was at the peak of that stage. 50 years ago, he had already formed over 20 divine characters. At that time, he was the most promising student among those walking the path of divine characters. Among his peers, he has the highest potential to reach the Mountain Sea realm and beyond." Zia Bing was listening attentively, but the old man suddenly stopped talking. Zia Bing stayed patient and did not ask anything. The old man couldn't help but to laugh and ask, "Aren't you curious? Say it if you want." Liu Wenyan is actually someone with a background. He was the student of the previous principal. When the previous principal passed away 50 years ago, he left a divine character behind. "Shut up," Zia Bing suddenly said. "I've heard about that before. You can stop talking." "If you keep talking, I'm worried it will bring some troubles to me." He was starting to understand, and he was unwilling to learn more. 50 years ago, an internal conflict nearly broke out in the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. Ultimately, the crisis ended with Wan Tiansheng expelling a bunch of people from the academy. Those expelled were all geniuses. Many of them were related to the deceased fifth principal. That incident was known as the incident where Wan Tiansheng cleared the academy of the fifth principal's influence. He had thought that Liu Wenyan was merely an ordinary member among those expelled, but he had not expected that Liu Wenyan was actually one of the main characters of the incident. He was actually a student of the fifth principal. He never knew that. People had stopped talking about Hong Tan's teacher. Thus, not many people knew about that. Now he finally learned that both Hong Tan and Liu Wenyan were the students of the fifth principal. In that case, Liu Wenyan's delay in willpower materialization might be related to the internal conflict among the higher-ups of the cultural researchers, involving people at the level of Wan Tiansheng. That was not something he could get involved with. Principal Wan, Instructor Liu, and researcher Hong Zia Bing's gaze landed on one of the trucks. Since Suyu was Liu Wenyan's student, would he be implicated? Back then, Liu Wenyan was kicked out by Wan Tiansheng. If Suyu was untalented, he would be fine. However, he was actually a genius. Would he be implicated? The old man was also looking at the same truck. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, he should be fine." Back then, Principal Wan was forced to do what he did. It was either that or have the academy fall apart. It has been so many years. If they are still holding a grudge, people like Beifeng wouldn't have been able to do so well in the academy. Zia Bing moved on from the topic. "Since you're asking about Suyu, are you trying to take him as your student?" We'll see. Beifeng is not doing very well recently. He is very busy dealing with his troubles. Su Yu has a decent talent. He shouldn't be affected by that. The old man narrowed his eyes and said, "No matter what, I'm an intermediate researcher. Am I not a better choice than Beifeng?" Xiabing had no interest in getting himself involved in that. He nonchalantly said, "That does not concern me. My mission is to escort them to the academy safely." The old man nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you. Can you help arrange a meeting between me and him?" Halfway through the video, enjoying the story, subscribe for more. Chapter 116. I am rich and strong. About half an hour later, they arrived at Tianshui. Instead of entering the city, the convoy stopped at a visitor's zone outside the city. Some people from Tianshui had arrived as well. These people were here to talk about their cooperation moving forward. An attack by the Myriad race cult was a major incident that the city viewed seriously. Their city guards had long been dispatched to search the surroundings of the earlier battlefield and Yuanshui village. Su Yu and the other students were not involved in all that. Due to the attack, they were all gathered at the visitor zone. They would be stopping there for a night before resuming their journey the next day. Inside a room, Su Yu heaved a breath of relief. The arrangements of Tianshui were decent. 2 students would share a room, and he had been given the same room as Chen Hao. The attack was nerve-wracking, but he also felt much more at ease after the attack. The anticipation of an attack actually felt even worse than to have it over with. Now that the attack had come and gone, he felt much better than before. While wiping the sweat off his body, someone knocked on the door. Standing outside was squad leader Ma Tei. One of his arms was in a sling while some wounds could be seen on his face. When Chen Hao opened the door, squad leader Ma laughed heartily and said, "Su Yu, my good brother, I couldn't thank you earlier, so I'm here to visit you." Su Yu walked out of the bathroom and asked anxiously, "Big brother Ma, are you fine?" "These are tiny injuries." Squad leader Ma was unbothered by his injuries. He looked to the side and said, "This is a cultural researcher from the capital. He has something to tell you later, but that will wait until we finish our conversation." He gestured at Su Yu to take a seat and seriously said, "We have heard of your contribution to the Windcatcher department, but this time, we got to personally witness you in action. I doubted your contribution previously, but you now have my heartfelt admiration. If it wasn't for you, at least 10 more of our brothers would have perished earlier." Cultural researchers are indeed different. Even a source-opening cultural researcher is more useful than an infinite-strength warrior behind him. The old man smiled. He enjoyed hearing people praise cultural researchers the most, especially when it came from a warrior. "I had told the commander earlier that it's pointless to ambush the cult. We should just face them head-on. Would the cult actually dare to face us in battle? If we had only relied on the so-called hidden experts today, even more of us would have perished." Behind him, the old man's face turned stiff. The people of Nanyuan were really bad with their words. He was a great intermediate researcher. However, someone like him had been subjected to so much criticism since his arrival. But soon, squad leader Ma was smiling again. "Let's not talk about all that. As soldiers, casualties are inevitable. I am here on official business. We need to finalize your contribution during the battle earlier. Su Yu, attention." "Here." Su Yu hurriedly stood up. Squad leader Ma solemnly said, "I'll ask and you'll answer." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "Did you kill 4 cult members today?" "Yes, sir." "Did you interrupt several cult members with your divine character?" "Yes, sir." "There are 7 recorded instances and 21 cult members confused during those instances. Is that accurate?" Su Yu gave it some thought and answered, "There should be 8 instances and 23 cult members in total." Su Yu gave a short explanation on each instance, while squad leader Ma noted them all down. Finally he said, "I'll report the 8th instance. At present, we only have 7 instances in our records." After they were done with the business, squad leader Ma stopped being so serious and laughed heartily before saying, "Well done. If all cultural researchers are like you, there will no longer be any need for people like us. I only provided some interruptions. The soldiers were the ones who had actually killed the enemies." "Don't worry. The contribution will be distributed fairly." Then squad leader Ma turned around to leave. Su Yu hurriedly asked with a soft voice, "Big brother Ma, so was what I did earlier considered military contribution?" "Of course." "Then how many merit points can I get?" Squad leader Ma blanked out slightly. He scratched his head and said, "They will make the calculation and notify you at a later date. But if you're in a rush, I'll tell them to get yours done first. It's understandable. You're going to enter an academy soon." He laughed heartily again and said, "You will get a decent number of merit points. Interrupting over 20 enemies can earn you at least a point per person, even if you didn't kill them with your own hands. This is considered a military conflict, so the higher-ups will be more generous with their rewards. Out of the 4 you personally killed, 3 were middle-stage Great Strength cultivators, and 1 was 7th-stage Great Strength cultivator. You can get 9 merit points for that. You can get 9 merit points for that. The combat would be considered a mission accomplished, and you will be considered a helper during the mission since it was an emergency. Therefore, you will get some additional rewards such as the spoils of war. You won't get much though, since those cult members were all broke. All in all, you can probably get around 40 merit points." Suyu was overjoyed. That was totally worth it. He had used 2 drops of blood essence for the battle and only had 1 drop remaining. He was getting worried about his stock. But now, everything was fine since he had earned a lot from the battle. The military is very generous when it came to actual military operations. A point per interrupted enemy was not the type of reward they would normally give out. "Then can I get the points?" "It won't take long. We'll submit the report at Tianshui and you can claim your points by the time you reach the academy." Suyu was relieved to hear that. He was basically penniless now. With the reward, he did not need to worry about basic things like a roof over his head or food. Squad leader Ma smiled and said, "Talk to this cultural researcher. I'll be taking my leave. Rest early. We'll need to wake up early tomorrow and resume our journey." "Okay. Thank you, Big Brother Ma." After seeing Squad leader Ma off, Suyu looked at the old man and respectfully said, "Sorry for the wait, sir." "Don't call me sir. Just call me instructor, teacher, or even senior." The old man was very friendly. However, he did feel somewhat uncomfortable, not because of Suyu, but because of Chen Hao. That silly kid was staring attentively at him. What was the meaning of that? Excitement could be seen in Chen Hao's eyes. He had witnessed how this old man had killed the cult members earlier. It was evident that this was a super expert, and he adored experts. Thus, he couldn't help but to stare when one such expert was right before him. It almost felt like he was looking at an animal in the zoo. The old man was speechless. If this was the academy, he would have put the silly kid in detention. But he did not have the grounds to do that here. Finally, Suyu noticed that and coughed before saying, "How? Go stay in the bathroom." "What? Go?" Fine. Chen Hao left helplessly. He wanted to stay and listen to the conversation, but unfortunately, he was being kicked off. "Senior, he's an honest kid, don't mind him. It's fine." The old man smiled. "Let me introduce myself. I come from the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. I am Zhao Li, an intermediate researcher and a 7th-stage Cloudbreach cultivator. If I can reach the Mountain Sea realm in a few years, I can become a senior researcher like Beifeng's teacher." Suyu was alarmed. A 7th-stage Cloudbreach cultural researcher. This old man was much stronger than he had imagined. "I have taught a lot of students, but I stopped a few years ago. My best student has recently reached the Cloudbreach realm, currently serving as a junior researcher in the academy. Today you interrupted your enemies with your divine character and killed them with your own hands. To speak the truth, I admire that. You are both talented and decisive. At the academy you can definitely get a senior researcher as your teacher. But I'll be frank. Senior researchers are too mysterious. They are rarely around and can often leave the academy for years on end. Someone like that will only be your nominal teacher. You will still have to rely on yourself. Meanwhile, assistant researchers and junior researchers are too weak. As for intermediate researchers, not many of them are without a student like me. You need to understand that between a researcher with 10 students and a researcher with 1 student, things will be very different for the students even if both researchers are of similar strength. You're decent at physical cultivation, so I'll be honest. I'm not good at divine characters. I specialize in weapons. I made my name through the weapons I forged. You saw my weapon today. The 6th-stage Skysoar cult member was killed using the 100 sword box I forged myself. A golden box appeared in his hand. This is the 100 Sword Box, a top-tier profound-grade cultural weapon. Weapons can be split into cultural and martial weapons. Martial weapons are easier to forge. Meanwhile, cultural weapons are much harder to forge. There are no more than 5 cultural researchers in Great Zia capable of forging profound-grade cultural weapons. Zhao Li solemnly said, "If you follow me, you won't lack any weapons or willpower texts. Plenty of people are willing to trade their willpower texts with me for my weapons. Even physical cultivators need the help of us weaponsmiths. As someone walking both paths, weaponsmithing is very suitable for you as well." Su Yu was overwhelmed by the favor shown to him. He said, "Senior, I spend some time thinking about it. You don't need to rush your answer." Zhao Li smiled. "As for Beifeng, don't worry about him. He's only an assistant researcher. Will he dare to challenge me?" Su Yu could only awkwardly stay silent. When Zhao Li saw Su Yu looking at the golden box curiously, he smiled and said, "A top-tier profound-grade cultural weapon is worth 5 times a martial weapon of the same grade. A top-tier profound-grade martial weapon is worth more than 300 merit points. The better ones can be even more expensive. As for a cultural weapon of the same grade, the value can go beyond 2,000 merit points." Su Yu's eyes widened. He couldn't even imagine how it would feel to own 2,000 merit points. As for Earth-grade cultural weapons, 5,000 merit points would be the minimum price. Although I don't have a 100% success rate when forging Earth-grade weapons, I had still succeeded before. In the entirety of Great Zia, there is only one cultural researcher capable of forging Earth-grade cultural weapons. Su Yu looked at Zhao Li in astonishment. Was he actually talking to the best weaponsmith in Great Zia? Zhao Li smiled without saying anything. Yes, there was only one such person. And cough, that wasn't him. He had only succeeded once through complete fluke. He still couldn't forge a proper Earth-grade cultural weapon. After all, luck was not something one could rely on. Then again, he had not lied to this kid since he had not claimed to be that person. From this kid's conversation with squad leader Ma, it was obvious this kid was lacking money. That was normal, after all. He was from Nanyuan. Zhao Li said, "By forging Earth-grade cultural weapons, you can earn thousands of merit points selling each of them. How many points can you earn killing a Skysoar cultivator? How many can you earn killing a Cloudbreach cultivator? You probably need to kill 10 Skysoar cultivators for a single Earth-grade cultural weapon, all right. I'll be taking my leave. Just know that character masters might not necessarily be superior to weaponsmiths. We're rich and strong. Not to mention Beifeng. I don't even fear his teacher." Su Yu only laughed awkwardly as he saw Zhao Li off. After Zhao Li left, Su Yu finally laughed to himself. Zhao Li was clearly bluffing earlier. That was especially true when he talked about Beifeng's teacher when his tone wavered. "Weaponsmith cultural weapons martial weapons," Su Yu muttered to himself. He had learned something new today. He was previously unaware of all this. Those cultural weapons were truly valuable. He couldn't help but be moved by the offer. After hearing about the value of cultural weapons, the merit points he earned earlier didn't feel like they were worth much anymore. Just look at Zhao Li. A random weapon of his was worth thousands of merit points. Meanwhile, Zhao Li also heaved a breath of relief after leaving Su Yu. What a joke. Random weapon. That 100 sword box was his trump card, his best weapon. Even the Earth-grade weapon he had forged by fluke was an incomplete weapon that could not be used. He had basically emptied his pockets forging this single 100 sword box. His financial situation was only made worse by his attempt at forging the Earth-grade weapon. Chapter 117. Silent Observer 1. The night passed peacefully. Due to the attack, the students were rather dispirited. All of them went to bed early. After a short cultivation session, Su Yu went to sleep as well. The next day, Su Yu woke up early and washed up. When he reached the dining hall of the guest house for his breakfast, he could sense that the atmosphere was off. Zia Bing and Zhao Li were present. There were also some strangers around them. Those were probably the people from Tianshui. The group was conversing at the corner of the room with solemn expressions. Su Yu walked over toward Zia Bing when he saw the man beckoning at him. "Su Yu, you won't be joining the other students today." Zia Bing went straight to the point. "A few Tianshui students will travel with you." These sirs will personally escort your group to the capital. Apart from Zia Bing and Zhao Li, there were 3 strangers around the table. An old man, a middle-aged woman, and a younger man around 30 years old. Zia Bing continued speaking. You already know, Sir Zhao. This is Sir Hu, he started introducing. The old man beside Zhao Li was Hu Hui, a Cloudbreach expert and an intermediate researcher in the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. He was Zhao Li's partner who had left for Tianshui during the previous attack. The middle-aged woman was Sun Xia, a junior researcher from the Nine Heavens Cultural Research Academy and a Cloudbreach expert. The younger man was Li Yunfeng, a deputy commander of Tianshui's city guards and a 7th-stage Skysoar expert. Excluding Zia Bing, these 4 would be in charge of escorting Su Yu's group to the capital. 4 experts. 3 were in the Cloudbreach realm, and 1 was a 7th-stage Skysoar cultivator. Tianshui had a lot more city guards than Nanyuan. Nanyuan only had a 1,000-man unit of city guards, while Tianshui actually had a 10,000-man unit. Their deputies were 7th-stage Skysoar cultivators, while their 10,000-man commander would either be a 9th-stage Skysoar or a Cloudbreach cultivator. Tianshui was a much bigger city than Nanyuan. It also had a lot more experts. Su Yu was surprised. They were only students. Even though an attack had happened the day before, there was no need for so many experts to escort them, right? Furthermore, they weren't even doing it for all the students. Only a few students were selected. Seeing Su Yu's doubt, Zhao Li sighed and said, Su Yu, don't spread this. I'll tell you the truth. Something major happened yesterday. Do you know Beifeng City? Zhao Li ignored him and gestured at Su Yu to sit down before continuing. When the Nanyuan convoy was being attacked yesterday, the Beifeng convoy was also attacked at the same time. Of their escorts, 1 Cloudbreach and 3 Skysoar cultivators were killed. Additionally, dozens of their students were killed as well. Of course, the cult was not doing very well either. Shui of the Bloodfire sect had led a large number of cult members in the attack. They did not expect that there were some hidden experts escorting the convoy as well. Apart from Shui, who had escaped with serious injuries, all the cult members were killed. The cult had suffered an even bigger loss in their attack against the Beifeng convoy. This year, all the convoys had received secret escorts instead of only a convoy or 2 like the past years. The group of cult members that had attacked the Beifeng convoy was very strong. There were 2 Cloudbreach and 8 Skysoar cultivators. Out of that group, only Shui, a Cloudbreach cultivator, had managed to escape with heavy injuries. After that attack, the cult's presence in Great Zia had been greatly weakened. They would probably stay hidden for an extended period of time after such heavy losses, including the casualties of both sides. 2 Cloudbreach and more than 10 Skysoar cultivators had perished in that battle. It had been many years since something that major had happened within Great Zia. Zia Longbu's previous fight with the intruding divines had been kept a secret. That wasn't the case for the battle yesterday, Zhao Li said. Don't worry too much. The Martial Dragon Guards has been fully deployed. They are out in full force to suppress the Myriad race cult. The cult has provoked us again and again. This time rivers of blood will flow from them. The Martial Dragon Guards will not let this slide. Zhao Li was actually gnashing his teeth in anger. The Myriad race cult had been too arrogant recently. Even after several failed attacks in Great Zia, they still had the courage to launch another attack. They had basically gone crazy. Fortunately, the capital had been on guard against them. All the security measures were actually put in place as a precaution against the divine Skywing race. Instead, Shui and his group were the ones who had landed right into the trap. Beifeng was rather unlucky as well. Their Cloudbreach expert had been negligent initially since he did not expect someone to have the guts to attack them. Thus he was killed by the opening salvo of the ambush. Otherwise, a Cloudbreach expert would not die so easily. Since Zhao Li had already spilled the beans, Li Yunfeng had no choice but to stop protesting. To the side, Sun Xia said, as a precaution, we will be in charge of escorting you high-tier students to the capital separately. The students of the other cities will also join us on the way. They were not only in charge of escorting Su Yu and the Tianshui students, they also needed to escort some other students. Excluding the guest students, Su Yu was the sole high-tier student of Nanyuan. Su Yu didn't know the Tianshui students, but based on Tianshui's size, there were probably around 6 or 7 of them. As for Beifeng, the second strongest city in Great Zia. They probably had around 10 or more high-tier students. Su Yu didn't know if any of their high-tier students had been killed in the attack yesterday. He did not have any objections about the new plan. He had no say in it anyway. After thinking about it, he said, Zia Bing answered, "Don't worry. We will link up with the martial dragon guards and city guards of the other cities and escort them together. In fact, without you high-tier students around, things are much safer for them. Also, after such heavy losses, the cult probably wouldn't try anything else. So many of their Skysoar experts had perished. One Cloudbreach expert had also died while the other Cloudbreach expert had suffered heavy injuries. It was unlikely that the cult would be able to gather such a strong lineup again anytime soon. With the martial dragon guards out and about, unless the cult had gone completely crazy, they would definitely stay in hiding. Zia Bing said, "Go back and pack your stuff. We will gather up in half an hour. When the Tianshui students arrive, you guys can set off." "All right." Su Yu said nothing else and took his leave. After having a simple meal, he went back upstairs to pack his stuff. After Su Yu left, Hui looked at Zhao Li with his brow raised and said, "Oh Zhao, from your attitude, are you thinking of accepting him as your student?" Zhao Li smiled and calmly said, "I am considering it. It has been many years since I last accepted a student. I'm planning to accept one to take care of me in my old age." Hi student, Hui muttered to himself before saying, "He's from Hong Tan's faction. Would you dare to accept him?" "Why not?" Zhao Li indifferently said. "Hong Tan is living such a good life. Why can't I accept a student? This student hasn't even joined their faction for real. And even if he has already joined, nobody can say anything if I can really snatch him to my side." Zhao Li was calm and composed as he said, "Not even the principal had said anything. Why do you care?" Hui smiled and said, "I'm not talking about principal. I'm talking about the others, the character faction." Zhao Li raised his brow. "They are free to continue fighting among themselves. Would they dare to come at me?" Although Zhao Li wasn't a Mountain Sea expert, he was still quite confident. "Do they really think that I'm a pushover? Sure, us of the weaponsmith faction aren't too strong. There are also not a lot of us around, but they are free to try to provoke us. If they push it too far, I'll rally all the weaponsmiths in Great Zia and cut their supply of cultural weapons. I can't be bothered to get involved in their internal conflict, but if they dare to trouble me when I'm only accepting a student, they will come to learn that us weaponsmiths are not pushovers." Yu shut his mouth. Beside him, Sun Xia smiled and said, "Senior Zhao, although Su Yu is a high student, his willpower is still too weak. I checked his exam results. A large portion of his score came from his physical cultivation. If he relied only on his willpower cultivation, he probably wouldn't be able to get a high evaluation. You should be aware of that as well." Zhao Li did not mind. Something like willpower can be easily grown by letting him study some willpower texts. Sun Xia smiled and shut her mouth as well. She was from the Nine Heavens Cultural Research Academy, so she didn't have a lot of entanglement with those from the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. She was only slightly curious as to why an important member of the weaponsmith faction like Zhao Li would suddenly decide to accept a student. Su Yu might be an outstanding high student, but excluding his physical cultivation and his bonus marks from his merit points, he was really not that special of a cultural research student. Of course, his score for the Mark of Culture test was quite high as well. But Sun Xia had heard that something was wrong with the Mark of Culture during the test. Assistant Huang had not supplied it with enough willpower. He had even been fined a large number of merit points after the test. Thus, a lot of people believed that the result of that test was unreliable. And Assistant Huang's punishment was the best proof of that. Their suspicion was understandable. Su Yu's willpower was indeed weak. His willpower wasn't even 30% full yet. That was quite far away from the mental tempering stage. Zhao Li might be an intermediate researcher, but he was also a weaponsmith. Although he couldn't forge Earth-grade cultural weapons, he had still forged a pseudo-Earth-grade cultural weapon before. He also had the potential to be the second cultural researcher in Great Zia capable of forging Earth-grade cultural weapons, and the moment he gained the ability to forge Earth-grade cultural weapons, he would be promoted into a senior researcher, even without reaching the Mountain Sea realm. In fact, Zhao Li had the highest position and fame within this group. Hui and the others obviously disagreed with Zhao Li's view. But since that was his own wish, none of them could be bothered to get involved in his decision. Chapter 118. Silent Observer 2, half an hour later. In front of the guest house, a large bus was parked by the road. Su Yu had already taken his leave from Chen Ha. Before leaving, he told that fellow to cultivate hard in the capital, and promised to visit when he had the time. There was no need for him to say his farewells to anyone else. Under the guidance of a city guard, Su Yu climbed onto the bus with his saber and luggage. The bus was already occupied. Apart from the 4 experts and 1 driver, there were 6 youngsters on the bus. Without Su Yu, Nanyuan wouldn't have even 1 high-tier student. Meanwhile, Tianshui had 6 of them. The gap between the 2 cities was obvious. The students only shot Su Yu a glance when he entered the bus. Nobody bothered greeting him, and nobody was talking either. These were all geniuses. Each of them was a prideful person. They did not care about a genius from Nanyuan, not even if that genius was a high student. None of them believed that he was better than them. Everyone is here. We can set off. With Li Yunfeng's order, the bus started moving. It was very quiet on the bus. There were 2 main reasons for that. Firstly, the students weren't familiar with each other. Secondly, with the experts present, they were somewhat nervous and did not dare to speak freely. After all, these were 3 Cloudbreach and 1 Skysoar experts. It would be disastrous if the students left a bad impression on them. Since they weren't saying anything, Su Yu naturally didn't bother taking the initiative to greet them either. After a while, one of the students, a handsome and gentle-looking young man, suddenly turned to face Su Yu and softly said, "Su Yu from Nanyuan?" Su Yu nodded. "I'm Hu Zongji from Tianshui, fresh mental tempering stage, and 1 divine character. I'm a high-middle student. I'm Su Yu, not in the mental tempering stage yet." Su Yu gave a simple introduction. There was no need for him to further introduce himself. He might create some unnecessary trouble if he insisted on introducing himself as a high student. But Hu Zongji smiled and said, "I heard you got a high evaluation?" "Yeah." That attracted the gazes of the other students. Su Yu's expression was unchanged. He did not say anything else. Hu Zongji continued, "I heard that the mark of culture used for your test was damaged. The Nanyuan proctors have all been punished. Is that true?" "I guess. I didn't ask anyone about it." Hu Zongji smiled and said, "What a pity. If I've known that, I would have taken my exam at Nanyuan as well. Maybe I can get a high evaluation there." Su Yu smiled and gave a perfunctory reply. "Yeah, that's true. The exam was quite easy. Even that Wu Lan fellow from the capital also got a high evaluation." Hu Zongji's expression shifted at the mention of Wu Lan, but he quickly smiled again and said, "Wu Lan is a genius from the Wu family of the capital. It is normal for her to get the high evaluation." Su Yu acted like he didn't understand the meaning behind Hu Zongji's words, and nonchalantly said, "Yeah." Hu Zongji raised his brow and said, "I heard you have been accepted in advance by a teaching assistant in the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy." "Yeah, but I don't know the details about that. I did hear about it from someone else, though." Su Yu was speaking the truth. Beifeng had not confirmed anything about accepting him as a student before leaving Nanyuan. Of course, he had mentioned it in passing, but nothing was confirmed. Eventually, news of that started spreading. Hu Zongji was somewhat unhappy to see Su Yu replying perfunctorily, but his unhappiness vanished quickly as he said, "Su Yu, we will be fellow schoolmates at the academy. Only by helping each other would we be able to stand tall in the academy. I heard that the capital fellows are rather discriminatory toward outsiders like us. Su Yu, are you interested in joining our Tianshui club?" "Tianshui club?" Su Yu asked in surprise. "I'm from Nanyuan, a small city. I don't know all that. Can you tell me more about this?" "It's basically a hometown club," Hu Zongji explained. "Each year, there will be some of us joining the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. Since those capital fellows are discriminatory toward us, we can only stick together. As for Nanyuan there is no Nanyuan club in the academy. But Nanyuan is near Tianshui, and you're the only high student of Nanyuan in so many years. You can consider joining us." Don't worry, although there is an issue with your exam, you're still a high-tier student, but your cultivation at the 9th stage source opening realm is not bad. With my recommendation, you will be accepted. A beautiful young woman nearby said, Hu Zongji, did you ask the club before inviting Su Yu? What if they reject him? You will only end up offending both sides. It won't happen. My elder brother is the vice president now. With a word from him, this won't be an issue. True. The beautiful young woman nodded. She looked at Su Yu and smiled. Hello, I'm also a preparatory student of the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. My name is Tong Wei. You can consider Hu Zongji's invitation. It will only benefit you. Su Yu smiled and said, Thank you, but I still know too little about the academy. Thank you for the advice. Maybe I should wait until I'm in the academy before deciding. I don't want to bring any trouble to student Hu. Hu Zongji dismissively said, What's there to think about? This is for your own good. Su Yu had the same smile as he said, I know. Thank you, student Hu, but it's better to wait. I will ask teacher Beifeng's opinion before doing anything. I will feel guilty if I end up bringing some trouble your way by accepting your invitation. Su Yu was polite yet firm. Since he still knew nothing about the academy, he wouldn't join a club so easily. Hu Zongji was clearly unhappy about it, but he still forced himself to smile as he said, Forget it. When the time comes, don't regret this. Without my recommendation, you won't be able to join. Su Yu merely smiled silently. It didn't matter. He never intended to join their club in the first place. He didn't know if Hu Zongji was inviting out of kindness or some ulterior motives, but there was no need for him to harp on the topic. The experts who were seated at the front ignored the students. Their eyes were shut as they rested. Li Yunfeng was the exception. He was constantly alert as he kept scanning their surroundings through the windows. He couldn't be bothered to join in the conversation. Those were merely a bunch of wimpy brats that were trying to one-up each other. That wasn't even worthy of his attention. He was treating their interactions as a source of entertainment to pass the time. Joining the Tian Shui Club wasn't necessarily bad for Su Yu, but it wasn't anything good either. As an outsider, he would be charged a membership fee for joining. Of course, he would also receive some benefits and help after joining. And Hu Zongji would be rewarded for introducing a high-tier student to the club. In the future, if Su Yu made some contributions to the club, Hu Zongji would also receive some benefits as the person who had referred him in. Although Hu Zongji had not mentioned all that to Su Yu, that was all common knowledge. Strictly speaking, he wasn't really trying to trick Su Yu. Li Yunfeng did not care about the little politics these brats were playing. He couldn't be bothered to explain anything to Su Yu since it was up to him whether he wanted to join or not. Furthermore, Hu Zongji was Hu Yui's grandnephew. That kid was the reason Hu Yui had abandoned his post previously. With Su Yu's refusal, silence returned to the bus. The other 4 students had not said a single word since Su Yu got on the bus. After an indeterminate amount of time, Li Yunfeng announced, We will be reaching Yu City in about 1 hour. We will grab lunch there and pick up a few of their students before moving through 2 other cities for the students there. After that, we can start heading straight to the capital. They were in charge of escorting the high-tier students of 5 cities to the capital. Other teams would be in charge of the high-tier students of the other cities. If everything went smoothly, they would reach the capital by the next evening. The next day, on the 30th of July, Yu City Hu Zongji was suddenly feeling talkative again. He said, Big Brother Li, how many high-tier students does Yu City have? 3. Li Yunfeng answered, 2 Great Zia War Academy students and 1 Great Zia Cultural Research Academy student. When Hu Zongji heard that, he said in a regretful tone, There's only 1 cultural research student from Yu. Why has it fallen to Nanyuan's level? Yu is a strong city. In the past years, they would always produce several high-tier cultural research students each year. This year, Tianshui had 3 high-tier cultural research students and 3 high-tier war students, Li Yunfeng said. It's already good that they even have one. The difficulty of this year's exam was actually higher. It's not like you don't know that the capital has been reducing the quota. Was the difficulty increased? Hu Zongji shook his head. I didn't feel anything. I mean, even Nanyuan managed to produce a high-tier student this year. Su Yu merely shot him a glance without saying anything. The way that fellow kept making snide remarks about Nanyuan was really annoying. But Su Yu decided to stay silent. He would not lower himself to argue with that person. When that fellow was speaking to Li Yunfeng, his gaze had been constantly moving toward Researcher Hu. At times, Researcher Hu would open his eyes to look at that fellow as well. Su Yu could see that they both shared a surname and were probably related. Therefore, there was no need for him to create trouble for himself during this trip. However, he wouldn't forget this either. Nanyuan Su Yu muttered to himself. Since you look down on Nanyuan, just wait. After a while, when I learn more about the rules of the academy and get myself a teacher as my backer, we'll see what happens. Why do you have to keep making snide remarks about Nanyuan? Did we steal anything from your family or something? Su Yu was actually a petty person. Just look at Zhou Chong from back home. He had talked bad about Su Yu, but Su Yu couldn't be bothered to dirty his own hands. Instead, Chen Hao had suddenly decided that Zhou Chong was a good sparring partner and gave that fellow a few beatings. Were those beatings really a result of Chen Hao's own desires? In the bus, Su Yu remained silent, acting like he couldn't understand the meaning behind Hu Zongji's words. It was unknown if Hu Zongji was doing it intentionally, but he shifted the topic and asked, "Big Brother Li, did any high-tier students from Beifeng perish during the attack?" "No. The cult members were killed shortly after the attack. The high-tier students had been remaining deep in the convoy. There are some deaths among the regular students settled around the high-tier students, though." "Oh, that's good to hear. Those dead students are probably middle and low-tier students." He had barely finished his words when Hao Yuhi opened his eyes and gazed at him sternly. Hu Zongji stiffened. At that moment, Zhao Li opened his eyes and said, "Shut up if you don't know what to say. If you keep disturbing my peace, I'll throw you off the bus. You can walk to the capital." Then, Zhao Li shut his eyes again. This time, Hu Zongji shut his mouth for real. Su Yu was happy to see that. Served him right. That fellow talked too much. From what he just witnessed, that fellow was probably not intentionally making those snide remarks toward Nanyuan earlier. He could very well be a fool who spoke without thinking. In fact, if those from Beifeng heard his earlier words, a lot of them would find it offensive. "Looks like there are stupid students in the Cultural Research Academy as well," Su Yu muttered to himself. Then again, that was understandable. These people who came from powerful families had not experienced the cruelty of society. They would probably learn after suffering some setbacks. The Hu family was probably quite powerful in Tianshui. It was obvious since one of them was an intermediate researcher who was also a Cloudbreach expert. And that might not be the only powerhouse they had in the family. There was a reason for Hu Zongji's arrogance. In fact, with his background, he could already be considered polite for not being arrogant enough to directly pick fights. Su Yu comforted himself that he shouldn't bother himself with what an idiot had to say. And if he really wanted to do something about it, he would wait until he learned more about the academy. For example, he could do something like secretly tell the Beifeng students that a certain Tianshui student had claimed that their dead students deserved it. Just imagine what would happen. Skeg tisk. I'll see. Su Yu decided to keep observing before committing to anything. This was his first time away from Nanyuan. He still knew too little. He had to prioritize learning the rules of survival outside Nanyuan. He had no intention of losing his life without even knowing what happened. Chapter 119. No Mercy. One Great Zia Cultural Research Academy. At the eve of the new students' arrival, the academy was bustling with activity. Students could be seen rushing all over the place, while the instructors were all busy with their respective tasks. As the foreign student faculty had been opened this year, things were even busier than the former years. But underneath the bustling environment, a storm was brewing. Heart-cultivating pavilion. An argument was happening in the massive building. Wan Tiansheng had just finished speaking when someone objected intensely. "I object!" "Wan Tiansheng, what are you trying to do?" An elder angrily rebuked. "Are you betraying humanity? Not only are you opening the foreign student faculty, you're also opening the secret grottos to them. Why don't you take them to the knowledge-seeking realm while you're at it?" Wan Tiansheng replied. "That is not off the table. You," the elder with white hair roared, "you are betraying humanity." "I never said that." Wan Tiansheng calmly replied, like I said, by knowing ourselves and our enemies, we will never be defeated. Without offering something solid, the various races will not share anything important with us either. Without paying a sufficient price, how would they be willing to throw in their lot with us? You only want to reap rewards instead of paying the price. How will that even work? With a calm tone, Wan Tiansheng said, just by making some secret grottos available for them. I'm a traitor? Even if we do end up nurturing a few experts for them, so what? Wan Tiansheng, the plan sounds good in your head, said someone coldly. But you need to know that we can never trust anyone not of our race. You want to nurture some experts and bring them to positions of power in their respective races before using them to gain more support for humanity. I can only say that you're underestimating how easily people can change their heart. At that time, those people will be influential and powerful. Will they still care about the favor they owe us? Wan Tiansheng replied. Even if only one of them remembers the favor, we will be able to gain the support of an entire race. Why not give it a try? Humph. A different elder snorted. Why don't you think about it? Every foreign expert you nurture means one less human expert. If one day those experts you nurture end up using their strength to kill our fellow humans, who will take responsibility for that? And are you saying that we can nurture any human into an expert just by throwing resources at them? That is a flawed argument, Wan Tiansheng. What are you harboring in that treacherous heart of yours? The elders shouted at Wan Tiansheng one after another. Finally, Wan Tiansheng sighed and said, Everyone, calm down. Don't start shouting before I can even finish my words. What's the point of calling me a traitor and all sorts of names before hearing me out? He shook his head and continued. I'll put it this way. By paying a certain level of price, we will receive something in return. On the Alhaven battlefield, these races would be able to provide us with information. Additionally, we can also gain control over some sects in the Myriad race cult. That would be much better than trying to infiltrate them with our spies. We need to be willing to pay if we really want to get something good. This is the first year. If the first batch of foreign students can receive proper support, and some experts emerge among them, the other minor races will start joining as well. They will come to see that by following the human race they can live a good life. This will only benefit all of us. But if they see that we can't even give the first batch any benefits, I'll be frank. The various races are looking at us. The minor races are still hesitating. Will they still be willing to join us? Wan Tiansheng shook his head. They won't. They would have to risk the ire of the strong races to join us without any benefits. Who would be willing to do so? The minor races will continue hesitating. During moments of crisis, they might even turn on us. But this is a risk that we can erase by paying only a low price. An elder said, Even so. You can't be unfair to our own students. Those resources did not appear out of thin air. Since you're willing to provide them to the foreign students, you should go further and provide them to our own students as well. Make more secret grottos available to our own students. Wan Tiansheng nonchalantly said, Sure, why not? But each activation of a secret grotto requires a lot of resources. The foreign students will be paying for the activation themselves. If you are willing to pay, I will have no problem with it. Deal! The elders hurriedly agreed. They had long wanted to activate more high-level secret grottos. They were finally able to make Wan Tiansheng agree to it. In the crowd, there was a middle-aged woman who had been staying silent. Suddenly, she lazily said, High-level secret grottos? Our faction will need 10 of the slots. Also, we won't be paying anything. The elder furiously bellowed, Wu yu wei hua. What is the meaning of this? The woman lazily said, What else can I mean? Am I not clear enough? You'll pay and my people will enter. It's that simple. Are you deaf? Can't you understand me? The elder had a gloomy expression as he said, If you pay as well, we'll allow your people to enter. The woman shrugged. I don't have any money, resources, or merit points. I'm broke. You can ask this one guy if you don't believe me. Then forget about it. The elder refused. She wanted to send her people in without paying. Dream on. Wu Yuehua nonchalantly said, Sure, we won't go. But those secret grottos do not belong to you. Those were inheritances left behind by generation after generation of cultural researchers. Some were left by my teacher. Some were left by my martial uncle. Some were left by my martial ancestor. Some were left by the 5th and 4th principles. If my people can't enter, nobody can enter. Whoever dares to enter without my people, I'll blow the grottos apart." She glanced at Wan Tiansheng, who was enjoying the show, and sneered. "You guys are rich and powerful. We have nothing. Since we have nothing to lose, what are we afraid of? Over the years, you guys have been suppressing our factions. And now you want me to work with you? Dream on. Do you think nobody can do anything to you guys?" Wu Yuewa slammed her palm into the table and said, "I hereby declare that if my people can't enter, nobody can enter. Foreign races? Factions? Future of the academy? I could care less about all that. Don't push me. If you anger me, I'll make sure none of us can get anything. I already have a plan in mind. The character pill and talisman masters can all leave the academy. Great Zhao and Great Ming have been giving us attractive offers to jump ship. Since you guys insist on suppressing us, we will simply leave. Wan Tiansheng, Zhou Mingren, since both of you enjoy working together so much, the two of you can stay together. We retreated once 50 years ago, but if you want to do the same again, do you really think I'm a fool like Liu Wenyan, who would willingly concede for the sake of righteousness and the future of the academy? I'm warning you, if you dare to throw us aside, neither of us will get anything. I will gather the other factions in Great Zia and jump ship to Great Ming. We will start our own faculty there. Let's see who will be the one laughing at the end. Let's go." She then left. At the same time, about 5 elders from the group of over 30 stood up and left as well. Before leaving, one of them said, "It's not right to push it too far. Han Tan isn't even back yet. Don't be too indecisive, and try to please only the stronger side. Do you think nobody knows what you're thinking? Sure, doing that you're able to keep the academy stable. But that's not the case for us. If you can't guarantee fairness, then you won't get our help with your grand ambitions." "Bastard!" shouted the elder who had argued with Wu Yuehua before. "Where are your manners?" Outside, Wu Yuehua's sneer rang out. "Zhou Mingren, don't throw the weight of your age around. If it wasn't for the fact that those idiots had willingly left 50 years ago, would there be a spot for you here? What are you thinking? Do you want to eliminate all of us and have your faction dominate the academy? Keep running your mouth and I'll personally take this heart-cultivating pavilion apart today. Before the day ends, we'll all jump ship to a different prefecture. Let's see how long you can stay cocky after that." Zhou Mingren had an ugly expression, but he did shut his mouth. Footsteps could be heard walking away from the room. By the time Wu Yuehua's group left, the elder furiously said, "Principal, this is all because of your indulgence." Wan Tiansheng innocently said, "Oh Zhao, how is that related to me? I can't afford to offend any of you." "What can I do if the two of you can't get along well?" Wan Tiansheng sighed. "Like I said, we can't push them too hard. But you guys insisted if we're opening the secret grottos. We need to give them sots. Otherwise, things will be hard for me. If they really leave, the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy will instantly be weakened by 30%. And when the prefect leaves seclusion, I'm afraid I'll be in trouble. You guys won't get off scot-free either." The elder coldly said that Wu Yuehua is being unreasonable. "I said that they can pay for their part and we can all enter together. Did I stop them? They were the ones insisting on eating for free. Should we be indulging them?" The elder was unreconciled. "Did we not earn our resources through hard work?" Wan Tiansheng coughed and helplessly said, "It's very hard for me to remark on that. Back then, many geniuses of their faction were expelled. Some of them are still alive today. They have no income and can hardly stay afloat. Wu Yuehua and the others have been helping these people out. That's their choice." Wan Tiansheng interrupted the outburst. "True, but we did deprive them of all their resources back then. Many of them were laced with debt. Wu Yuehua had spent between 50 to 60,000 merit points for Liu Wenyan alone. She had also been helping the others with their debt. All in all, she had paid over 100,000 merit points for those people. Old Joe, if we really go too far, both of us will suffer as well. Just let it go." The elder gloomily said, "It's not like we were the ones who had forced them to take all those debts. Also, they had taken a lot of important items with them when leaving the academy. Wan Tiansheng, tell me, did we force them to do that? If they hadn't taken those things with them, would they be laced with so much debt?" Have we tried snatching those things back all these years? Their strength has been stagnant. So many of them were stuck at the mental tempering stage. Some chose to take those items to the grave instead of returning them to the academy before dying. Is that right? The elder was furious. Who is the more selfish one here? Just because Wu Yuhua had spent all her wealth paying their debt, she's demanding to take our resources for free. If she dares to leave, let her leave. Do you think I don't dare to leave as well? Great Ming, Great Zhao, and Great Shang have been waiting for us to jump ship. Wan Tiansheng sighed. You're right. Both of you have your own troubles, but over these years you guys still have some income. The academy, the knowledge-seeking realm, and the prefectural government have been allocating a lot of funds to your faction. It's different for them. It won't do for me to be too impartial as a principal. How about this, old Joe? We'll let Wu Yuehua get what she wants this time. If there is a next time, we'll kick them out. Old Joe hesitated for a while before leaving with a cold snort. Many elders left with him. Only about a dozen elders were left. Chapter 120. No mercy to Wan Tiansheng smiled nonchalantly. One of the remaining elders smiled and said, Old Wan, you're pushing it too far. Don't keep turning them against each other. If their conflict escalates into true enmity, it won't be good for us either. It's fine. Wan Tiansheng laughed. Wu Yuehua can talk the talk, but can she walk the walk? Even if she wants to leave, Hong Tan and the others won't agree. As for old Zhao, after getting so many benefits, it's time for him to pay something back. That old fellow is still thinking about those items even after all these years. What's the point? If he has the time to think about those items, he might as well use his time to recreate those things. Why is he holding on to the grudge for 50 years? Wan Tiansheng shook his head and continued. This is good for us. If they aren't at each other's throats, it will be much harder for us to carry out our plan. Since they are busy dealing with each other, none will have the time or energy to interfere with our affairs. Someone else laughed and said, Old Wan, just know your limits. Don't anger them too much lest they really leave. At that time, it will be too late for regret. Don't worry. Wan Tiansheng was indifferent. It's not like you don't know this. Half of the so-called envoys of the various prefectures talking to them are actually our agents. The offers given by our agents are absolutely crazy. Since they were too embarrassed to confirm the offers with the various prefects, they all took the words of our agents as the truth. But when they do try to jump ship, they will find that the real offer is not even 1/10 of what they have been offered. I wonder if they will instantly turn on those prefectures then. At that, the elders laughed. One of them cursed. That's too scummy. Wan Tiansheng was truly too treacherous. He was afraid that those fellows would really run off, so he had been sending fake envoys to issue those people fake offers. Since the various prefectures were really trying to steal the people of Great Zia behind the scenes, they would be too embarrassed to say anything about it publicly, even if they did notice the fake envoys. And if Wu Yuehua and the others did end up jumping ship, the plan would be spoiled the moment they started talking about payments. Wan Tiansheng had intentionally offered a price that the various prefectures couldn't afford. They would only end up turning against each other. Earlier, both Wu Yuehua and old Zhou had been very confident that the various prefectures were waiting for them with high offers. These people and Principal One merely listened silently and laughed inwardly. None of them dared to speak the truth. If the truth was exposed, Wan Tiansheng would probably be beaten to death before he could leave the building. That was too treacherous. After joking around, someone seriously said, Old Wan, your reputation in the academy has been very bad recently. The foreign student faculty has brought the academy many troubles. I wouldn't call those troubles. Wan Tiansheng calmly said, I call those opportunities, an opportunity for reform. The academy is too bloated while the existing students are no longer capable of forging ahead. They spend all their time in internal struggles. I want to unite them. The foreign student faculty will be a good target for them. We can't allow the internal conflicts to continue unchecked. There needs to be a limit to that. We can also use the foreign students to clear some deadweights from the academy. At the same time, we can trigger the students' competitiveness and bring them back to the right path. Those who deserve to leave will leave, and those who deserve to stay will stay. We will slim down our bloated structure and gather more resources. And those minor races will be the contributors of these additional resources. Rather than let them fight among themselves, we might as well make them fight the outsiders. It is too wasteful to have Wu Yuhawa and Old Zhou compete against each other. With the foreigners here, they will shift their attention to those foreigners, and there will be less internal conflicts among ourselves. We can use the foreign students to temper our students. This is a good plan, one of the elders said hesitatingly. How about the foreign races? No worries, Wan Tiansheng said. Competition is a form of tempering. If they don't compete, how can they grow into experts? With the stiff competition, only the strong would be left. For the foreign races, losing some garbage students for a group of elites would be totally worth it. Do you think they will care about losing some garbage students if they stand to gain some elites? No? Then it will be fine. Wan Tiansheng was all smiles as he said, I have it all planned out. The Myriad godhouse of the divines and the Alhaven purgatory of the devils will be our next targets. We will compete against them, and we will win. When conflict between the human students and the foreign students is starting to reach the point of no return, we will shift their attention once again and unite everyone against the divines and the devils. And if we win, the foreign students will discover that the divines and the devils aren't that scary after all. Wan Tiansheng narrowed his eyes and said, since the divines and the devils can actually be defeated, why would they need to be afraid of them? Those minor races will lose their fear toward the divines and the devils. Will they still listen to the two races? At that point, the academy will grow strong. Our students will grow strong. Our internal strife will stop. The minor races will gain the confidence to stand against the divines and the devils, and we will get the additional resources we have been trying to get. Everything will be great, an elder said. That's only if everything moves smoothly. I'm afraid that it won't go according to your plan. Wan Tiansheng nodded. There is a possibility of the plan failing. The Myriad godhouse and Alhaven purgatory are also no pushovers. A single failure will ruin all the work we have done before, and instead further showcase how strong the divines and devils are to the various races. Someone worriedly said, at that time, you will be in great trouble. I'll be fine. Wan Tiansheng was indifferent. At that time, Zia Longwu will leave seclusion and lead the martial dragon guards and the devil-subduing army to the Alhaven battlefield. There, he will kill some divines and devils before stepping into the invincible realm. I will be removed from my position as a principal. Everything will start anew. All the failures from before will be my fault. Great Zia will still be Great Zia while I can move on with my life at a different place. It's not like they will actually kill me. Therefore, this is a good opportunity for us. We can reform and throw out the old ways that don't work anymore without that big of a price. Everyone, this is a very rare opportunity. How can we give up on it? The crowd sighed. He might sound relaxed, but if the worst-case scenario really happened, he would ruin the reputation he had spent a lifetime building. He would become the disgrace of Great Zia. He would be called a traitor, a turncoat, trash, and all sorts of humiliating names. He would be the most despised person in Great Zia, while his sacrifice would only highlight the greatness of Zia Longwu alone. Wan Tiansheng did not care about their thoughts. He continued speaking. Of course, we still need to focus on nurturing these students. We can't ruin this batch of students as well. His face turned solemn as he said, in the past, we have been competing among ourselves. Victory or defeat doesn't matter that much. Now we are competing against outsiders. The price of defeat is death. I guess this would be good for the students. They can witness how cruel the world actually is. There are things that they can't experience from internal conflicts. Wan Tiansheng took a deep breath before continuing. Train them well. I want all the senior researchers to start teaching the students this year. As for the students, I don't need all of them to be geniuses, but plant a few freaks among them to provoke all the other students. These freaks are there as props, and they should be self-aware enough to play their part well. If you really can't find any good students, Wan Tiansheng clenched his teeth and said, you guys will put on a disguise and pretend to be freak students. Do you understand me? The elders were speechless. Old Wan must have gone crazy. One of them sighed. Old Wan, this isn't proper, right? Don't pressure the student too much. If they break from the pressure, it will be hard for us to answer for our actions. Afraid of pressure? Then are they still qualified to be freaks? Are they still qualified to be geniuses? If they are afraid of pressure, just go back home. This is exactly what I want. I need them to experience true cruelty. When they reach the Skysoar realm in 6 months, you will be ahead of them at the 7th stage Skysoar realm. When they reach the Cloudbreach realm, you will be ahead of them at the Mountain Sea realm. Keep suppressing them. Let them know that there is always someone better out there. That kid from Great Zia is getting too arrogant. He keeps thinking that he is the best in the world. I believe that it is only a matter of time before his confidence ruins him. Just because he has some talent, he looks down on the world. In truth, he's nothing special. We'll go with this plan. I don't care how you do it. Just pick a few of you and enter a seclusion before you start pretending to be students. If it's too embarrassing to look for others to act as your teachers, just pick some of your colleagues present. Then, all you need to do is appear once in a while and step all over those students. Wan Tiansheng flashed a treacherous grin as he said, "Go all out. Don't be afraid that you will destroy their confidence. Every now and then, provoke and step on those so-called geniuses and freaks. If some of them break from the pressure, so be it. We will leave our resources to the true geniuses." An elder sighed. If they found out about this, we would be too embarrassed to show our faces anymore. What are you afraid of? Don't worry. If nobody here leaks this, how would they know? We're doing this for the students' well-being. Or to be precise, we're doing this for the good of humanity. In fact, if this plan works, I'll suggest to the knowledge-seeking realm and war shrine to spread this method to the entire human realm. The more Wan Tiansheng spoke, the more excited he was. After growing into true experts, not only would these people not blame us, but they would gladly join in as well. They would happily subject the new students to the same humiliation they had gone through. With that, this practice would be passed down generation after generation. Someone laughed and said, "Old Wan, I keep having the feeling that you are creating a lot of trouble for yourself in the future. You are showing no mercy to these students." The elder was right. The foreign students, the two greatest academies of the divines and devils, and the fake students played by these elders were all there to push the students into desperation one step at a time. A student who managed to grow into an expert through such a torture would definitely want to take revenge on the culprit. Wan Tiansheng did not mind. He concluded, "We have reached an agreement then. Also, I heard there are a lot of geniuses among the new students this year. Each of them is more arrogant than the other. I want you to smash their confidence apart. Old Wan, your juniors are among them. Don't mind them. Show no mercy. If you dare to step on even the juniors of the principal, nobody would be able to criticize your actions. Right, old Zheng's grandson is among the students as well. He would be a good target as well. Show them that you are brave enough to offend the juniors of two principals. Show them how fearless you are. Teach the juniors of the Zia family and the Hu family a good lesson as well." Wan Tiansheng smiled happily as he continued. "Also, Fatty Zia's juniors are here as well. Step on them as much as you can. It's even better if you can make them leave the academy. That damn Fatty actually told me that he couldn't afford the school fees this year and demanded that I accept his juniors for free. Be sure to step on them." Laughter resounded in the room. That Marquis Zia was truly too stingy. Hopefully this storm will be enough to create a few good seeds among the new students, Wan Tiansheng lamented. 50 years ago, the academy has indeed grown stronger after expelling those fellows. But as a result, we have also placed a limitation on our people. We no longer dare to take risks and experiment. As a result, we nurtured a bunch of cultivators that were formed from the same mold. Their future was ruined. That was my fault. Sure, we did produce some Mountain Sea experts, but we have not produced a single supreme expert. It has been 50 years. For the past 50 years, the Great Zia Cultural Research Academy had not produced a single supreme expert. Although that wasn't a long time for cultivators, they would still be able to produce one every few decades in the past. But they had not been able to produce any since 50 years ago. Wan Tiansheng knew that it was too late to revert some of the changes. All the newer students were incredibly obedient. They were basically robots with a stiff mindset. Without a reform, the academy might be able to continue prospering, but they would no longer become a pillar in humanity's struggle against the myriad races. They were terribly lacking in terms of the production of high-end experts. For Wan Tiansheng, That was scarier than the destruction of the Academy. Even more terrifying was the fact that the incident 50 years ago did not involve only Great Zia. Its after effects had actually spread through the entire human realm. That was a very scary thought. He had not been able to sleep well at night. He was afraid that if he didn't reform now, it would be too late. That's it for today's video. The next part arrives tomorrow. Subscribe so you don't miss it.